I think we got a couple from Zachariah Tiemens. It's a habit, but they're super questions. They always are. I have reverse favoritism towards the Tiemens. If it's not extraordinary, I won't take it on account of it being the Tiemens Lounge. But it's a great question. A couple others too, I think. So here's the first one. It's here's the big lie often repeated: political correctness isn't about censorship. It's about being polite and not an insensitive jerk. Since most of us actually want to be polite, how do we fight back against this meme? You have a right to be a jerk. You don't have an obligation to be a jerk. That's actually rather pithy. That's really it, right? When you really get right down to it, when you say something that somebody considers offensive or hateful, it is offensive or hateful to them. And it looks like I'm going to be doing more university stuff with a bodyguard, apparently. But what these people have never heard is, oh, this is hateful to me and it's offensive to me. Well, everything you believe is hateful and offensive to me. Your weakness is offensive to me. Your inability to grow up is offensive to me and offends me. It offends me that you want to steal from other people so that you can get stuff for free. That offends me. It offends me. It hurts my feelings and it makes me feel bad. So ultimately, when you're going to talk about this business about being polite, it's a question of polite to who? You just because, like I said, you have a right to be a jerk. You don't have an obligation to be a jerk. A person who just goes poking people in the eye for no reason is not the kind of person most people associate with, and that's fine. They don't associate with them. But you have the right. And the reason you have to have the right is because there is nobody on this earth who will not be offended by something. And if everybody has to speak and think, although there's a big difference, and that's why political correctness is dying, but if everybody has to speak in such a way that no one is offended, in other words, if you have to monitor everything that comes out of your mouth so that the most easily offended people amongst us aren't offended, then you don't have any speech at all, and you don't have any thinking at all. And I think it's fun to watch. I posted on Facebook a thing where Triumph, the insult comic dog, interviewed these social justice warriors. And in the Facebook post, I said, here's Triumph 10 years earlier or whatever, making much, much more fun of the nerds lined up outside of, and they called themselves nerds. They're proud of it. Outside of the, Attack of the Clones premiere. And Triumph was, him interviewing the Star Wars fans, the funniest thing I've seen on YouTube just about. But when he went after the social justice weenies, you could see it was not just that they were, none of them laughed. You could see they were uncomfortable. You could see they were offended. You could see they didn't think any of it was funny. But the most thing, if you watch the kids carefully, because watch it once for the laugh, but watch it again for the reaction. If you watch the kids, you can see the metal grinding in their head. It's like you can hear the sound of an engine that doesn't have any oil in it. It's Ripley, back off! You're just grinding metal, and that's terrifying to me. It's terrifying to me that these people are this weak. I really do have to shake myself sometimes and say they're not all like this. This is, these are kids at University of New Hampshire or whatever, and they can't process it. But here's the point. This is a much more interesting point. Watch that video again, and watch them, because in the video, if you haven't seen it, and you don't have to go see it, I'll just tell you what happens. Triumph the Insult Comic Dog is the worst rubber puppet of a dog, and because it's a rubber puppet, the guy who's the comedian behind it, and I should know his name and I don't, somebody will tell me in a moment, gets to say anything because it's the dog. And he's insulting these kids. And one of the things he does is he brings out, here's the thing. This is exactly the thing I'm gonna get to. He has, as part of this thing, arranged to have a fat black gay man come out. Do you hear what I just said? A fat black gay man come out into the classroom. And that's what the guy is. And he's cast to be that. And so Triumph says, describe this guy. And he brings out a sketch artist and he says, describe this guy. And that's the part where it is the most interesting, because when he's asked these kids to describe this fat black gay man, watch the gears working. They know what he is. They know he's a fat black gay man, and they jump around. Robert Smigel? Anyway, he's terrific. But watch them, and watch them trying to top each other, and watch them censoring everything. So describe the man who just came in. He's somewhat, perhaps maybe just a little obese, and obese. How can you say such a hateful thing? And then, the guy comes out, and it's all a gag. Anybody can see it's a gag. Anybody can see that Triumph has this fat black gay man come in specifically to pull these kids' chains, and one of them saying, well, anything else about him? Yeah, he had an odd sort of a speech affectation, which is he was just flaming. He may be an actor. Wouldn't be surprised if he was. And they were saying things like as Laurie just pointed out, he was a man of size. He was he was a person of size. You mean fat? And they're just jumping over these hoops in their heads, and they're terrified. And the best part is they bring the guy back out and they show him the sketch, which is all pre-done. It's all hilarious. And somebody said, was it you who said that he was large? And this kid goes, I'm sorry. He spent 20 minutes trying to find the least offensive way to say fat. And once they got him. And man, what was it? He was talking about how on the New Hampshire students want to ban the term freshman because it's offensive to people who aren't men. So they want to get rid of freshman, and they want to call it and they want to get rid of the term freshman orientation and call it first year orient. So he says, so what would you call it? We said we want to call it first year orientation. He goes, oh, you racist. Shouldn't that be first year Asian-mentation? Just genius. It's just genius. And this is where I've been saying the whole time, you got to just poke it in the eye, just go straight at it. It's on the Facebook page. I can't recommend it highly enough. And if you have time, watch them with the social justice warrior. I'm going to get in the habit of getting this right. These SJWs, the social justice weenies. Watch how unbelievably uptight and unfunny and miserable and unhappy they are versus what he says, which is much more insulting, I think, to Star Wars fans who are just out there dressed up and laughing at it because it's funny. It's funny. If you can laugh at yourself, you've got something going right. And it was really enlightening. So anyway, to answer your question there, Zechariah, like I said, you must have a right to be a jerk. That doesn't mean you have an obligation to be a jerk. And the answer to people who are impolite and rude is to ignore them and don't invite them to your parties. And if somebody is impolite and rude, then don't follow them on Facebook and don't watch their videos and don't watch them on TV. Because what's impolite and rude to you is just fine to somebody else, and you're depriving them of something they want to see. And what's just fine to you is impolite and rude to somebody else. And if you decide, as I said, to speak to the lowest common denominator of the priesthood of being offended, then no one gets to say anything. And I'm just not going to put up with it. So you shouldn't either. Just go right in their face. Just call them what they are.